Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special Monday night show with Larry Stroman. And my co-host today is going to be Annika. Jeff is a punk, and I can say that because he's not here. So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. That's awesome. So we got a few viewers. I think we came out a little early. A little confusion with the time. My fault. But hey, listen. Anybody who's on is going to get a easy pass then. Thing. So how you doing today, Larry?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. What we're going to do, we're going to open up the first live claim here in a second. How you doing, Annika? Can you hear me?
Good. I'm having sound issues, Melissa.
Are you? We seem to be having some audio issues here today.
See?
I'll be
My phone.
We are going to have some fun tonight, hopefully. And any claim tonight is Larry's going to run by 17, $75 for a sort of a quick sketch, but they came out pretty good because Larry's a pro. What are you working on the paper anyway, buddy?
Shoot, I don't know. I was just drawing something.
Still in time, right? Well, let's get the party started. All right.
that was fast.
Who's our first claim? We got Daniel. He wants multiple man. You only get one.
See, that's what I was working on. I was working on multiple man. You know, that particular character, I remember when I first saw him, I can't remember if it was the late 70s, early 80s when he came out.
First live.
And I don't remember reading much, but I just always liked the way he looked. And I remember back then saying, man, it'd be cool to draw that guy one of these days. So when it came time to do the X Factor thing, we were trying to pick, who we were going to have on the team. So I said, is multiple man available? And they were like, yep.
So you actually sat down and kind of talked about who was going to be on the team?
Well, what it was just one of those few times where I had a choice to pick who I wanted simply because all the popular characters were picked for the other books. So I just got all these kind of odd characters that were left over. So they asked me, who did I want to draw? And he was one of the ones that I really had wanted to draw.
I seem to be having audio issues too now.
So the people watching, are they able to hear?
I don't know. Can you guys hear us out there in the internet land? I don't think he has any blank colors now. Do you have any blanks, Larry?
Any blank books?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some.
All right. Well, maybe we can do something like that. We'll see.
Yeah.
So how'd you get started? You told me.
I was just about to say, there's this guy that I know that Ken. He gave me a bunch of those.
Oh, that's right.
But then I realized I'm talking to you.
So Larry, I know you told me the story, but tell everybody how you got started in New York City drawing. Because it has something to do with anybody who watched the show. We had the 5-minute sketch, and we let Larry pick who was going to be the person that they drew. There was a method behind his madness, and he told me later on why. So I thought it'd be a good story for him to tell now.
No, you're talking about when I first started drawing. You know what I did to make a living in New York. Is that what you're asking?
Appeared.
I can't hear you. Did you hear me?
Yeah, StreamYard kicked me out.
Oh no, I was saying you're asking about what I first did when I got to New York City? Or when I first got in the comic?
When you now in New York City, how you started drawing?
I mean, I was always drawing. I left Boston, New York to pursue my art career, and but I really didn't know what to do to get into comics. So I basically just started. I would just go and sit out on the street and just sell art, and then eventually I started doing portraits and stuff. So with after a few years of doing that, I got pretty fast at drawing people. And being in New York City, you know, everything moves fast, period. So you have to kind of learn to get things done, because if not, then you have to deal with the competition of all the other people. So I had to learn how to draw faster.
Yeah. Yeah, if anybody's ever been to New York, well, back, I don't know if they do it much now, but you go through Times Square and there was always people doing something and drawing art, and who knows how many times you might have walked past Larry Stroman, right? How many times did you do that? Did you do it for a long time?
I did it for maybe about 4 years or so before I got into comics.
Oh, okay. That's a long time.
Yeah. You know, it's like you just do it and then it becomes kind of an everyday kind of a thing. And the next thing you know, a long period of time is going by. Right. And then I had to kind of make the decision. Do I want to just do this, stay out on the street, or do I want to actually do what I came here for, which was to get in the comics?
So what did you do? Did you send your portfolio around? Did you knock on doors? How'd you break into the book?
No, I just basically just walked into a show and walked up to a guy named Howard Chaykin and just said, "Hey, look at my stuff." And I was being really rude, so I walked past a bunch of people who were standing there in front of me, and because I didn't feel like standing in line, so he just thought it was funny, you know, how I just basically ignored all these other people. But the end result was, you know, I ended up doing work for him for a little while. And then eventually he contacted some other people at Marvel in DC, and that's kind of how I got in.
Oh, really? What kind of work were you doing for him?
It's what is called ghost work. Ghost work is when you kind of draw out, kind of do like an outline of something.
Okay.
And then what you're doing is you're saving the artist the time of doing all the technical work. So what ended up happening was I did some of that stuff, and then after I did that, the other thing about ghost work is you never get credit for the stuff that you do. It's usually the artist who's known for whatever it is. That's the person that gets the credit. All you do is you just do the labor work, and then you know, and that was the first time I got paid. Then after that, I started doing little short stories here and there. Then eventually I got an opportunity to get on a book called Alien Legion. And if Randy Emberlin comes on tonight, Randy Emberlin was like the first inker that I dealt with.
Yeah, I invited Randy on. He said he's going to pop on, so we'll see when he comes on. Yeah, that'd be fun to talk to you guys about. Reunite. How many years did you do Alien Legion?
I did it for 7 years, but I can't remember how long he did it, because I went through a few inkers during that period of time, including Dan Panosian.
Oh, okay. Did you ever ink your own work?
I did, but it was like a disaster. So I actually almost got kicked off the book because of it. I did such an awful job, but I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but they gave me a chance. Well, Carl Parts gave me a chance. He was the guy that owns Alien Legion, one of the guys that owns Alien Legion. And he gave me a lot of chances, and he helped me out as an editor. So I probably appreciate him more than pretty much anybody in terms of people that I've worked with in the industry.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I'm sure through your career, you've met a lot of legendary creators. And I know you met Jack Kirby. You had a nice long conversation. What did you guys talk about?
Well, Jack was kind of in his own world, so you didn't really talk to him. You just kind of listened to him.
Okay.
And he would tell you, old war stories and all that kind of stuff, even though you want him to talk about how he created Galactus and all that kind of stuff. But he was just an interesting guy to listen to because he had been around for so long and did so much stuff. And every once in a while, those kind of guys will talk about other artists in the business, but a lot of times that stuff you can't really tell everybody.
Yeah.
And you want people to kind of have their personal lives and all that other kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to hear any bad stories about Stan Lee. There's plenty of them out there.
Exactly. I remember at this time when I hung with Kirby, this was before all the Stan Lee stuff came out, or anybody else for the most part. So it was just a very innocent time.
Yeah.
But I don't really think too much, negativity towards Stan. I mean, he was a guy working at a company like everybody else.
Yeah. Why not? Doing his job, right?
And a lot of that stuff that he ended up getting a bad reputation for wasn't necessarily him. It was just policies of the company.
Well, I was at a con this weekend, first time since COVID.
Ooh.
I was at
How was that?
Pensacola. I was in Pensacola. It was a 6-hour drive. So I drove up Saturday morning, got up at 2:00 in the morning so I could get there early enough, and hung out with Bill Morrison all weekend. And I'll tell you what, it was a huge crowd. I mean, the line to get in wrapped around the building. It was crazy. It was like
that's a good sign because the last few shows that I went to maybe had like 20 people.
Yeah, there was easily a few thousand people there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, and I mean, some people were wearing masks, some people weren't wearing masks. It was kind of went both ways. It was in a hockey arena, so they had the hockey where the ice would be was where the actual convention was.
Yeah, there's a show in New Jersey that I've gone to a few times that does the same thing.
Yeah, and then the celebrities were in one of the mezzanines, and then we were in the top mezzanine area where Artist Alley was. So it kept the crowds spread out pretty good. People could sit in the seats and in the stands and stuff, but people were sitting there, and so I think there was definitely some social distancing happening also. But it was interesting to see. I mean, the crowds were definitely there. So I'm looking forward to more shows. And of course, we got MegaCon coming up, where we're going to be a part of in August.
Yep.
So hopefully, when that one goes off, everything is lifted, and it's a full-blown show, because that's one of the bigger ones in the country. So we're looking forward to that.
A lot of people didn't realize how much they missed going to the shows.
Yeah.
The shows weren't there for a while.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, they're just chomping at the bit to get out and do things. But it felt like a normal time for once. It's been a long time since it felt normal, and it was a normal time.
Right.
How's things out in California?
It's okay. We're about to open up, I think, in June 15th is going to be our first, we're fully open in San Diego, so we'll see. But still don't know about cons. Still waiting to hear.
Well, they're not doing San Diego this year, right? They canceled it already.
Yeah, I've heard like mixed things because they were supposed to do that Thursday. Oh dear, the Thanksgiving
Right.
convention, but I don't know if that's still going, and I don't have any insider knowledge. So
I don't either. Pat, I mean, on the show floor, it was definitely really crowded. I went down there a few times looking for things. Just first I wanted to just see what was going on, but a lot of people were in masks. So it wasn't. I don't know. I kind of felt, like I said, more of a sense of normalcy, which was nice. Of course, if I get COVID in a few days, I may change my mind, but I'm vaccinated. So it'll be okay. There was a guy wearing like a sandwich board sign saying "vaccinated." that was his costume. But it was nice to see the cosplayers out. Saw some really really cool cosplay costumes. I mean, people. Hey, listen, they've been holed up in their houses for a long time, so they've probably been working on these things and getting ready for.
Yeah, I haven't seen a cosplay in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see all that stuff once again. There's another show this weekend out here on the west coast of Florida, a lot closer to me. I'm going to go to do some networking and things like that. I was able to talk to some people about doing future shows, so hopefully we're going to have some big announcements, some more creators that are going to be coming on board soon.
Very cool.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So jealous. I'm patiently waiting.
Patiently waiting for the next con.
Yep.
Is there anything scheduled out there that they haven't canceled yet?
Not that I know, but on Facebook, Andrew just said there's one in LA, I think in August. So
yeah, Andrew, I'm just putting that up.
I'm gonna be Googling that a little bit later.
No. I mean, maybe New York Comic Con's a possibility. Terrificon's no. I don't have any plans to go up to Terrificon. Maybe Larry will. In his backyard.
No, I don't think I'm gonna go to that one this year.
No.
I don't know. If I do, it'd be like a real last minute decision.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for this one.
Awesome.
That was so fast.
Well, he had it halfway done already when we should have done.
That's true.
All right, what do we got? Lucas got a magic. That don't look like magic, Larry.
You said what?
I said the claim for magic. I said, but that don't look like her.
Oh, magic. Okay. I thought you wanted, I don't know, one of those politically correct kind of things. Okay. You said magic?
Magic, yeah.
Okay.
Who tried to claim a Batman?
You know, what we were saying earlier about the, out on the street doing portraits and stuff. The hardest part of it was not doing the art. The art was the easiest part. The hardest part of it was at the time, I don't know how it is now, but the mayor that we had, who was Ed Koch, I think it was, he would kind of listen to a lot of the store owners, and they would complain, why is it that there are people who are allowed to set up and make money on the street, but they have to pay for rent. The police would come by every day and run us away. So it's like sometimes you made money, sometimes you didn't. Any once in a while, they'll come in and just take your stuff and throw it on their truck and drive away. So, that was, and then all the weather, it was either too hot, too cold, raining, snowing, we went through all of that for years.
Sorry, people are texting me. I'm doing a live show and they're bugging me.
Yeah, I keep getting calls from my sister. Always seems like people are trying to contact me when I can't get to them.
You know who does that to me all the time? I love the guy, Ron Wilson.
Oh,
he will call me at the most inopportune times every single time.
Right.
I'm about to do something. I'm driving in the car, or every time he catches me at the wrong time, and I feel bad because I either don't answer or I have to tell him I'm going to call him back. But he always catches me at the wrong time. He's got a great knack for that.
He has to be like one of the nicest people I think I've ever known in the conversation. He's always pleasant. He doesn't talk bad about people, and and you would think that for a guy who's been around as long as he had, he probably has all kinds of horror stories about the business.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've tried to get him to do one of these, but he's not really tech savvy, so I don't think he'll ever do one of these live claim shows.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy. I've been fortunate working with a lot of good guys, so we can keep that going.
Yeah. So Ron, when I first met him, we were at I think his book Super Boxes had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I meet him at the show, and I go up and he's behind the table, and I'm there talking to him, and and everything. And I was telling him how much I admired, how much of a fan I was of his stuff, and the fact that, of course, I was inspired by the fact that he was one of the only black guys that I knew who was doing mainstream comic work. So the next time I saw Ron was many years later, when I around the time that I was doing X Factor, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes up to me. I'm at a table. He comes up to me at my table, and he starts telling me what a fan he is of my stuff. I said, no, Ron, you got it wrong. I said, I'm the fan of you. And then, of course, he didn't remember that me and him had ever met or anything, because he didn't know who I was at the time. So I just thought that was funny that after all those years, he was the one coming over to my table, being nice to me.
That's good.
But every show that I've gone to where he's there, I always try to get them to put me next to him so we can talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about the industry and and everything. And
yeah, that's always good. I know we have some new people out here because I started a YouTube channel. Thank you, anybody who's watching on YouTube, and hopefully we're going to get a lot of subscribers on there. So the way it works is claims go up live, available spots. We show a video, and that's when the claims go live. It can happen at any time. I might do it after Larry finishes a sketch. I might do it before Larry finishes a sketch. The whole premise of it is that anybody who's watching has a chance at it. So if you're quick enough and you can get the claim in, you're the person who gets that sketch. And then we keep going until the artist says no mas, or I get too tired to want to do it anymore, or anything else. And that's how it works. Right now, Larry's doing them. They're on 11 by 17 sketches for $74 plus shipping. They're quick sketches. They usually take them between 15, 20 minutes. They're not full blown commissions. That's why their price is not what a commission price would be. But we've been getting some great art out of these guys. And once the spot is claimed, you commit to it. So you need to purchase the piece. I will email you, or you can reach out to me on Facebook, and I will send you a PayPal invoice. These sketches will be picked up next week. I had sketches picked up from Larry yesterday, so the gentleman who's picking these up will pick these up next week, and he'll ship them all to me, and then we will go from there. Shipping is $15 plus a 3% invoice fee, and anybody who has an outstanding invoice, I'm not going to let you make a claim, but everyone's pretty much paid in full, so I don't have to worry too much about that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the chat. I will answer it, or Annika will answer it. She's my co-host tonight. Usually we have Mr. Jeff is normally our co-host, but he was unable to help us out tonight, and that's fine. Annika is a great backup.
Just typing away, answering all the questions.
The only problem with Annika is she can't claim when she's hosting. So
I know
you can see her getting antsy sometimes, especially when a character is drawn that she wants.
Which is like pretty much any female strong character. So I'm going to be very jealous of this one.
Yeah. It's fine. So yeah, and whoever gets the next claim, if you claim something, a strong female character, she'll get all upset. Unless it's Jane Foster, she already has one.
My Larry Stroman Jane Foster is so badass. I probably look at it like once a week.
So welcome to any of the new viewers, and I hope you like the format. It is a lot of fun because anybody can claim at any time when we put the videos up. I usually try not to announce them. I usually pop them up there. But Larry finished that one a little quicker than I expected him to. So he kind of snuck that up on me.
Sorry, it looks so cool.
No, you don't have to keep even Annika, Mark. Those fast fingers are disabled tonight.
Yep. So much easier to type than to run to artists' booths, so I like it.
I was surprised at the weekend. There were some decent names there. Michael Golden was there, Pat Broderick, Sam De La Rosa, but and I was with Bill Morrison. There wasn't a whole lot of sketching going on. They weren't. People were not buying sketches. They were buying comics. They were buying other things, but it wasn't really a sketch show. So I guess sometimes it goes like that. Have you seen that, Larry? That are sketch shows where you can't even catch up, and then there are other shows where you sit there and you twiddle your thumbs and no one's getting any sketches?
I mean, in the last bunch of years, I haven't really noticed much of a difference. It's just kind of the same. I mean, I've just found a lot of times, as far as me doing drawings and stuff, that usually on the shows, if not a whole lot is going on, most of the people that I get are people that have no idea who I am. But I've never really had an issue at those shows as far as doing that. It's usually always something.
So in your career, was there anybody that you wanted to work with that you never got a chance to?
Say that again?
Was there anybody in your career that you wanted to work with that you never got a chance to?
Not really. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there were a lot of people whose stuff I really liked, but as far as me working with them, I don't know. It never really made that much of a difference to me. I usually ended up liking a lot of the people that I did work with.
I guess that's important, right? Have a good relationship.
Yep.
Somebody's got a race car going by.
I mean, now that I'm thinking, it would have been cool to have been able to draw a story that was written by Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas was always one of my favorite writers. Always loved the stuff he did on Conan and a bunch of other stuff. And I just got to meet him maybe like one time a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But with the exception of him, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. What about books? Were there certain books that you would have liked to have gotten a chance to draw?
Oh, that applies to most of the books. I mean, I would have liked to have drawn a few issues of Captain America, and I would like to have drawn the Hulk a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But probably the main one would have been Fantastic Four, but that would have been like old time Fantastic Four, not the one that's been out, over the last few years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did get to draw that issue of Ghost Rider. You just told me that story recently.
Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
That was that was just because I happened to know, I happened to have known the guys who were working on it at the time. I don't know what other opportunity I would have been able to have to end that book, but that worked out pretty good. I mean, I would have liked to have drawn more, but it was just a single shot.
And I was doing Mark Texeira's run in Ghost Rider, right?
Yep. No, that was actually just before Mark Texeira. I think he took over right after the issue that I did.
Okay. And of course, your run on X Factor was legendary.
Yeah, but if I didn't draw if I didn't do that Ghost Rider, and I think there was one issue of Wolverine that I did. If I didn't do those two books, I probably never would have been able to do X Factor. So just the fact that I got to do those two issues worked out for me.
Yeah, you never know what's going to open the door, right?
Right. And then sometimes you find out that, there's some particular editor that would have liked to work with you, but the reason why they didn't is because you were working on other books.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a couple of really, really bad issues of Punisher, and I would have liked to have done Punisher again and actually do it.
Did you ever find a particular book difficult, or you struggled with getting the story out?
Nah, they're pretty much all difficult because it depends on what you're trying to do when you're doing the book. And every time I got on something, I always said, I'm going to try to do the best possible book that I can. And sometimes it just doesn't work at all. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it works perfect.
And one thing Larry is great for is giving you insider information about how things are done. So I'll ask you this. Does a writer give you direction on what he wants to see on a page, or is it something you interpret the script? And
no, most of the time when you get a story, it's already done. So you really have very little interaction with the writer unless you all are working on a book together. I mean, working on a book over a period of time. Then you say, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. But in the early days, it was easier. But, since probably maybe the 90s or so, it was more like you just kind of get a story and then you just draw the story you get. So you don't have that much of interaction with writers. So when people say to me, what was it like doing X Factor with Alien Legion? I say I didn't have much interaction. I mean, I'm sorry, doing X Factor with Peter David, I say I didn't really have much interaction with him. We ran into each other every now and then at a show and spoke a couple times on the phone, but that was about it.
Do they give you direction in the script about what they want to see, or is it something?
Yeah. It used to be what was called. We had what was called the Marvel way, which was you get like a basic breakdown of pages on, like it would say, blah 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 blah, and then it would say, then the guys fight for the next 4 pages.
Okay.
So then you go ahead and you choreograph whatever fight scene you want. But then as the years went by, it became more specific, you know, where the writers would say, you know, I want you to pick up a box, hit him over the head on this panel, and then the next panel, he falls through a window, then the next, and that's a much harder way of drawing it. But that became the normal at a certain point. And now what you get is what they call full scripts, which is everything is detailed.
So not a whole lot of artistic interpretation, basically just following the formula that they're written in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can change, but depending on the editor that you're working with, some editors just won't let you go past, you know, what the writer has written. They say, oh, you know, I want you to write it. I want you to draw it exactly the way he wrote it. And that's nowhere near as fun as when you have some kind of freedom.
You're doing this like you've drawn magic before.
One of my favorite writers, actually. I used to work with Chuck Dixon when we were doing Alien Legion.
Oh yeah.
He would give just the most simple descriptions of something, and then he, you know, it's no details or nothing, and then you just go ahead and just do whatever you want, and then he would come back later on and fill in. You know, basically, I never had a problem ever drawing anything that he wrote. So he, in the end, became one of my favorite writers to actually work with.
Now you've worked at DC too.
Yeah, I worked at DC for a little while. I did a book called Dark Stars. I think I did like, I don't know, three or four issues of it. And but I was so preoccupied at the time about wanting to do more mainstream stuff at Marvel. So that book only lasted issues, and then I went over there and started doing more mainstream stuff.
Is there a big difference between the
I was actually at the time, I was actually in discussions with them where they were asking me, you know, what did I want to draw? And I almost drew the Green Lantern Corps. Like I said, you know, there was other Marvel things that were popping up at the time. So I just basically stuck with the Marvel stuff.
Did they conduct business a lot differently than Marvel?
Did they what?
Do they conduct their business differently than Marvel?
Nah, it's pretty much the same stuff. Like I said, most of your experiences in the company will be based on, you know, how you dealt with your editor, you know, whether the writer you work with liked what you was doing. And I never had any complaints from the writer.
That what I was saying. The faces change, but the shit smells the same.
For pretty much. But the thing is, as years go by, basically go from one to the other. So now a lot of the guys who are up at DC were some of the same people I dealt with when I was at Marvel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it's kind of interchangeable in that one, right? This is looking good, man. You know what that means, right? All right, where do we go? Mike Driscoll. Anyone from Legion of Superheroes? Tyrock.
Oops. So,
That's so cool.
what's the? What did you say the next one was?
He says, claim anyone from Legion of Superheroes, and then you put Tyrock and question mark. I don't know who Tyrock is.
In Legion of Superheroes?
Yeah.
No, I never heard of that name before, so I don't even know who that is.
Well, he said anyone in Legion of Superheroes, so I guess artist choice.
I mean, is that current Legion of Superheroes?
I don't know. Let me see if I can Google it. Monica, help me out. What do you got there?
Sorry. Superheroes.
You're supposed to.
Oh, okay. I know who that is. I couldn't remember that dude's name.
Wow, that's some outfit.
Okay, does he
I'm
want
scared.
the
I'm scared.
ask him if he wants the old version or the current version?
Which version would you like there, Mike? He said old version, please.
Yeah, I think I like the old Afro version.
Oh yeah.
All right. You know, in terms of fashion and stuff, the 70s is my favorite time ever.
Mm. I do like fashion from the 70s. So fun.
I am not familiar with this character at all.
No, I've seen him before.
Gotta give him one of those big Pam Grier hairdos.
Yep.
That's Larry's girl. He loves her.
Until I met her.
You know what they say, never meet your heroes, right?
Yeah, she wasn't so nice when I met her, but you know, that's how it goes.
How long ago was that? Was it at a convention?
Yeah, that was at a shoot. That had to have been 5-6 years ago, maybe.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, you know. Sometimes as people get older, they get a little more crotchety. You know.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the show wasn't really a good show, so she might not have been feeling good in the first place.
Right. I used to be a sports marketing guy. I've told the story before. I don't get starstruck often, almost
Right.
never. But at Pensacon yesterday, I got to meet Dirk Benedict from Battlestar Galactica fame, and
Right.
And yeah, I got a little. My 10-year-old self popped out. I was like, "Damn, Starbucks!"
You know, it was interesting you said it because I was at a show where the guy who played Apollo was there.
Okay.
So I said to myself, you know, at some point during the show, I'm gonna go over and, you know, say hi to him, get a picture, whatever. So I got so distracted by the show that I ended up never actually getting a chance to meet him.
Hmm.
And I think he had died a few months after that.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I got some sketch covers done. So I had Bill draw. I'll put myself on this thing here. I had Bill draw on a blank sketch cover, and then I had Dirk Benedict sign it.
Oh, that's cool.
And he wrote Lieutenant Starbuck, with the star and a dollar sign. And this one's available if anybody is interested. You reach out to me. I sold everything else I had.
I love that. I love the second series. I mean, the second, you know, version of that.
When they rebooted it.
Yeah.
I heard
Not the one where they came down to Earth, but the
No.
yeah,
the one that came out with a woman. And
yeah,
it was a Cylon, and well, everybody was a Cylon basically.
Yep. That show was very good.
Yeah. But that show in the 70s, I asked him about it, and he told me that the production, the first 3 episodes cost $170 million to make.
Yep.
And that was in the 70s. And he
Wow.
said the first episode took 79 days to film.
Yep.
And I asked him how long did it take to film the first episode of the A-Team. He said 7 days.
Right.
And he was explaining to me how they had these gigantic sets, with full-size Vipers, and the hangar of the Galactica was almost life-size. They had all these sound stages. He said the money that the studio threw into that was amazing. He said it was just.
I was watching one of those making of shows, and they were talking to, I think, one of the producers or something. So he says when they do those shots that are inside the hangars with all the ships,
yeah,
he says they usually try to shoot all their film going in one particular direction, because he says when they shoot in the other direction where they would have to do the green screen to add all the ships in, he said it would cost so much money that he said, sometimes they were just like, no, don't film that way, film over that way.
Yeah, nowadays they just do CGI. They do it in front of a green and do it with computers. But he said, they had cockpits and they had ones that you could climb into for those shots, and then they had the Viper tunnels and
right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I had an argument with a guy one day. I'll probably end up having an argument with you about the same thing. But we had this argument over who had the better fighter pilots, Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars. And I said definitely Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch those fight scenes, man, Battlestar Galactica is 1,000 times better than Star Wars.
I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. Those Vipers were wicked ships. In Star Wars, I mean, outside of a TIE fighter, the X-Wings weren't really, big maneuverable ships until Poe Dameron redefined it in the sequels. But those Vipers were pretty wicked.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then they had like 3, 4, 5 different versions of them,
Yeah.
And I like how they would mix up some of the old stuff with the new stuff. Like you had a few of the old ships from the original show. Yeah. Some of the robots from the original show. Yeah, that was.
I wonder if that's streaming anywhere. The original version of Battlestar Galactica. I might have to go back and watch that.
I think every once in a while, Science Fiction Network will decide to put it back on again.
Because I probably, I was explaining it to my daughter, and it was actually a really well done show that I remember. They're running from these Cylons and they're trying to find Earth. They don't even know if Earth exists.
Right.
They're trying to run, and the Galactica is the only battleship left, and defending the.
Now, did you notice how sometimes when they would talk on the phone, it would be like a regular telephone?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, they would like a regular phone with a cord on it. They said apparently the reason for that was that they said because they were so distrustful of technology, they just went by to the regular system of a regular phone line. Because they always felt they were being tapped by the Cylons, not realizing, like you said, in the end, they realized most of them were Cylons anyway.
Oh, you're talking about the reboot?
Huh?
You're talking about the reboot when you did the reboot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I like the original Cylons with that light, the light eye that went back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And the way they sounded.
Yep.
Yeah, I can still hear that noise.
Those are actually some of my favorite when they do the cosplay things. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
I always love that sound.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen a Cylon in all the shows I've been to.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't think I have either.
I don't know, Annika. Sounds like you guys get to work.
Until I have a date of a con. I'm a pretty big procrastinator.
It was late yesterday when I saw my first Scarlet Witch. I was shocked. I figured they would be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one that I saw, and it was the comic version too.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be like huge this season for all the cosplayers.
I saw a lot of Erica Slaughter because hey, listen, you can wear it as a mask.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a ton of Erica Slaughters.
And it's a comfy outfit.
Well, I mean, the thing is, as popular as it might have been, that was a kind of a strange TV show.
Mm-hmm.
The Scarlet Witch Vision show was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was good though.
Yeah, I don't think it had the same appeal as the characters who would have been in the regular movies.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason why you can see a whole lot of people dressed up as the character.
By your command. Oh my God, I forgot that line. Did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Larry?
Did I what?
Watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'm not a big I've never been a big Falcon fan, but I thought that show was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I like when they kind of.
I mean, my single favorite moment was when one of Black Panther's bodyguards touched what's his name,
Mm-hmm.
arm just fell off.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "We are the ones who are in control of this metal."
Oh, that was so funny. And that whole fight scene was really cool to watch. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm liking your version of Tyrone much better than what I've seen on the internet.
Yeah, this version's super badass. I like it.
The other ones reminded me of Starsky and Hutch. Remember that show?
Oh, I met Huggy Bear. I met him at a show.
He was a
And
Pentagon.
he is one of the nicest people ever.
He was a Pentagon. I didn't talk to him. Though.
He's one of the nicest people ever.
Huggy Bear. Oh, he's putting the afro in too. Look at him.
I used to have an afro like this back in the day.
I was going to say, this is a self-portrait, right?
And it takes a lot to keep it up. So I kind of lost interest after like a few months.
I can imagine it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Last Friday, my daughter got engaged. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I just saw a video of that. That's cool.
Yeah. I helped him with design a ring because in my real job I work in jewelry. It was his birthday, so he had a surprise birthday party, and when we went back to his mom's house, I said to him, "Did you pick up the ring?" And he said, "Yeah." So we went into his bedroom and he showed me the ring, and I said, "When are you going to propose?" He said, "I don't know. I'm looking for the right moment." I said, "It's the right moment, dude." I said, "You're
so you knew about it for a while.
Yeah. His family had come in from New York. I said, "Your whole family's here. Our whole family's here." I said, "You do what you want. I'm not trying to pressure you or anything like that, but this is actually a good moment." He was like, "You're right." And then, he went out and did it, and it was pretty exciting. It was fun to be a part of, to see it happen. Plus, I knew it was happening. So.
Right.
I was ready with the video camera, so that was fun. That's why, and I drove up to Pensacon 6 hours. I was exhausted. When I got there.
But in those situations, what always happens is, whatever your family member is, always try to figure out how was it you was able to keep the secret for so long,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he even told me, he said, if I would have kept that ring for too long, he said, I would have ended up proposing at a Wendy's because I couldn't take it anymore. So he was glad that he did it when he did.
You know, when I had proposed to my second wife, I brought her back to the same exact place where we met.
Okay.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
My wife used to collect music boxes. So
Right.
I bought her a music box and I had engraved inside "Marry Me."
Right.
So I went over her house and I gave her the music box and she looked at it, but she didn't open it.
Right.
And
That's
she,
always the frustrating part
she
of
put
it.
it on her. She put it on her dresser and she thanked me and we went out to dinner. And we're like, okay, I guess she's not going to open it. And we went out to dinner and did our thing, and we came back to her house and. I said, "Are you gonna open up the box to see what it plays?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I guess so." And she opened it up, and yeah, that's been in there the whole time. I said, "That's been in there the whole time."
Oh, that's so funny.
She still has it, which is cool. I had the ring inside and everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we met. She used to work at a Burger King, and I went in there one day, and she said, "Can I take your order?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll have a cheeseburger, a large fry, and your phone number."
Right.
And she said, "I'm not giving you my number. I said, can I give you mine?" And she said, "Sure." And I wrote my number on the back of the receipt, and she still has it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
We just celebrated our 26th anniversary last week.
Yeah, when I met my second wife, she was working at the hotel where they were holding one of the WonderCon shows, and she just happened to come in that day for something having to do with her job, and she was standing in line just like I was standing in line. So then she turned around and came over, and we started talking, and that's how we ended up being together. But if she had not been working, this was like a weekend, and she worked regular days. If she had come in any other day, I never would have met her.
Funny how things like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you drawn this character, Larry, if ever?
Say that again?
Have you ever drawn this character before?
No. Nope.
Oh, there you go. That's a rarity to get somebody with Larry's credentials who's been doing this for this long to find a character he hasn't drawn before. You have to dig pretty deep, probably.
No, there's quite a few I haven't done.
Oh, really? Not even for commissions or anything?
Huh?
Not even in a commission or anything?
No. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of regular characters I've never drawn. I remember one day, I think I did some drawing of a woman character, and I said, "Well, I really had fun doing this." I said, "But very rarely do I ever have anybody ask me for a woman character." And since that day, I've been getting woman character commissions.
Yeah. I think you do great with the women characters.
Yeah.
I was just telling my sister the other day, there's this set of these I don't even know what you call them. These little tracing paper things,
Right?
where women would make dresses out of and it was this company called Simplicity. My mother used to have a bunch of those things. And I remember one day one of my sisters had said to me, "Why is it you always draw just pictures of men? Don't you ever draw pictures of women?" And it had never occurred to me. I was just drawing what I thought was cool in comics. And then I started taking some of my mother's Simplicity packages, and I started drawing the women off of there.
That's pretty cool. I love the texture on the hair. It's great.
Yeah, this is turning out so cool. Even though it's not a lady, I'm pretty jealous of this one too.
We got to ask for a Pam Grier.
Pam Grier as Storm.
There you go. That might be fun, actually. Next claim is going to be for a Huggy Bear.
What?
Huggy Bear.
Huggy Bear. This special 1970s show.
Only 70s TV characters.
Yeah.
Can I get a boss hog?
Boss hog. You know, I think I only watched that show maybe once, and but I always knew that character. So one day I was at some show, and John Schneider was one of the guests of the show. So he comes into the show, and he walks directly up to my table, and he sticks out his hand. He says, "Hey, Larry, how you doing? Nice to meet you." And I was saying to myself, do I know this guy from somewhere? So what ended up happening was he just happened to read my name on my banner. So he was just basically being polite. But, you know, he was a nice guy.
I guess you met a lot of people at the cons. Who's one that really sticks out to you?
You mean as far as celebrities?
Yeah.
Huggy Bear, he was a really nice guy. And there was a number of other celebrities, but they're the type of celebrities you don't know their name right off the top of your head.
Oh, gotcha.
But to say, it's the guy, it's that dude from,
Yeah, that's the worst. When you see someone, you recognize their face, but you can't remember their name. You're like, "Hey, you're that dude."
Yeah, you're that dude. People have said the same thing to me. They're like, you're that guy. Aren't you that guy? I said, what guy? They said, that guy that draws those comic books.
I was in New York City with Tony Dorsett, and we were walking down the street, and some guy recognized him. He's like, "Oh my God, you're like my favorite football player!" And he was freaking out. And can I get a picture with you? And took a picture of him, and he was freaking out. And Tony was like, "All right, calm down," because the guy was really going overboard. And then when he was walking away, he goes, "I can't wait to tell all my friends I just met Marcus Allen."
Yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah, that kind of thing happens. Because I've had people follow me through airports and thought that I was some kind of athlete or something like that at the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not that dude.
You ever get mistaken for anybody in particular?
I think there was a couple of baseball players, but I didn't know because I don't watch a whole lot of baseball, so I didn't even know who they were making references to.
I was at a show in Cleveland, and I was sitting with Jim Brown.
Right.
It was a 61 Browns reunion show. So
Right.
The whole team was lined up, and people were just walking down the line, getting all the players to sign it. And I was sitting with Jim Brown. And so some guy put the helmet in front of me. And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want me to do with that?" He goes, "Weren't you on a team?" Do I look like I wasn't even born in 1961.
Right.
I look like I played on the 1961 Browns. And Jim's going, sign it. I'm like, "I'm not going to sign it."
He did this autobiography called Out of Bounds. So I read that book, and that was one of my favorite books I ever read. I mean, I was shocked at some of the stuff he talked about in that book.
Of Jim Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a great guy. I mean, I was with him for that entire day.
Out of all of those athletes back in the 70s who did movies, his was always my favorite ones.
Ooh.
There we go.
Hey, Larry. Hey, Randy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, take off the glasses.
How you doing?
Yeah, good.
You crashed.
Yo, what up, man? I barely can see you.
This is an exclusive show.
Yeah.
So
How
what's
you doing, Randy?
what are you doing, Larry? What are you trying to pretend that you can draw? What's up with that?
Pretending. All drawing is about is pretending.
You got that right. What do you think they call it Comic Con for?
Yeah. Right.
Now you just did a show this weekend too, Randy. You told me it was fantastic, right?
It was. It was the first time I crawled out of my cave, and it was set up about 3 months ago with a store that I'd done 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and it was before we did a convention in Tacoma. So it was. I thought Friday I'm going to do it, and it was very successful. And the people were super nice, and the store is very spacious, And I thought this is perfect. We're all, vaxxed, and a lot of people are. And I thought, let's set it up. And my daughter lives up there, so I thought we'll make it a fun visit. And
Yep.
it was monstrous. It was like hundreds of people in line, and they did a really good job of facilitating. And my wife and I worked 3 tables, till 6 o'clock at night, and we were wasted, but it was incredible. Record-setting performance.
Excellent. Is the hype beginning for Carnage?
I think that must be it.
Yeah.
And then we did.
I think the last time I saw Randy, he was at some show in Dallas, and he was sick. I think he was sick that weekend.
Yeah, that was.
But it didn't seem like it until you said you were sick.
Well, I had a bad night. Luckily, It was the night before the last day, and all I did was lay low. I was drinking smart water and just with my head down on the table practically,
Right.
It was bad. I got some.
I've been at shows. Yeah, I've been at shows like that before.
Yeah.
Where I was barely able to stay conscious.
But that was a really great show. I mean, it always is.
Yep.
I love that
Yeah.
North Texas comic book show.
Yeah, every time he asked me to come to that show, I go to that show.
Yeah, it's all about comics. There's no, superstars from TV and movies, so it makes it really nice. People focus on the artists.
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I was just saying that I was at Pentacon this weekend, and it wasn't much of a sketch show. Everyone was buying. I was with Bill Morrison. He did a few sketches, but he sold just a ton of comic books.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Pat Broderick. I mean, I saw his commission list. It wasn't that deep. So it just wasn't that kind of show.
Well, I did the pre-show commission list about a week before, and I thought, well, let's get it going. And sure enough, there was interest, but the people that were interested were like really serious. So they're expensive, big commissions. And
Right.
I put one of them up, and it was like the Absolute Carnage, red cover, which cost like $200 on eBay. The guy had to order it and ship it to me like in one day so I could get it done, And it was, it cost him like $330 just to send that to me and get buy the thing. It was already great.
I was at a show, and I think it was Tulsa, like Oklahoma, someplace in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
And they had a bunch of like guests there. I mean, celebrities and stuff. But I think only maybe like 20 people came to that show, and the show was like empty almost all 3 days. And at one point, a lot of the people who had tables, they were just packing up and leaving. But for me, almost every person that came up to my table was dropping like a couple $100 a piece. So when I left that show, man, I was having a great time.
That's the best kind of show.
Exactly.
People that are really serious. Yeah, that's what you want.
Yep. Everybody who came over to the table was somebody serious.
That's great. That is awesome. The one thing about this show that I did was I think the people were really patient. They were respectful. People wore masks. And, it took a long time, and we were going as fast as we could. You know, we limited it to 10 items and one personalized item. But other people, they got back in line with another 10 items, and I gave them like a 50% discount. You know, if you're going to bring 10 items, and it encouraged people. I don't think anybody came through that line with less than 10 items. I mean, maybe a few bought some other stuff, but yeah, it was amazing. It was pretty incredible.
Wow.
We like those. We like it. It's all good.
Okay, so for the people who don't know a whole lot about my history, Randy was one of the first people to ink my stuff when I was at Marvel, and I think Randy has inked more of my stuff than pretty much anybody.
Maybe. I don't know. We did. How many issues did we do?
I don't know. All I know is I was on
Alien Legion.
All right, this is done.
Who's that guy anyway?
Hold on one second, Randy. So this is how we do it. When it's time to, when somebody finishes a sketch or almost finishes a sketch,
Fast.
you go playing video, and the first person to say they want it gets it.
Rockin'.
Let's see, who was the first claim? Who was the first claim? Looks like Michael Saratovsky, claim thing from the Fantastic Four. I don't know if I've seen Larry draw the thing.
I did it a few times, but they were like panel, single panel. No, actually, I did draw the thing in one issue of something. It was one of those crossover. I think it was one of those crossover kind of books, and I did like a full page of the thing coming out of the negative zone or something like that. And people really like that.
I'm looking forward to this. I see you do this again.
I like the thing.
Yeah.
You do Ron Wilson proud right now.
Yep.
So
Anyway, I was saying that Randy, I think you might have inked more of my stuff than anybody.
I know we finished up the first series of Alien Legion, which was I don't know how many issues. I think what did it go up to? 20 or something like that. I don't know. And then we started.
Well, they started and restarted it about 4 or 5 times.
Okay, well, I restarted it, and then I had too much. I had like Amazing Spider-Man, and that was priority. And so you got an incredible inker, the British
Mark Farmer,
yeah, Mark Farmer, phenomenal. So you got somebody better than I was with the project. Wow. But
it's weird because you get so used to a certain look that then that next guy comes in and it's a complete different look, So I had to. It took me a while to adjust to it,
Yeah. Well, you know what? You were, because of Carl, that's the editor. You were my experiment.
Right.
It was like here's Larry. He's worked in commercial art, and it was like I thought this is great because I worked in commercial art, and it was like open. Larry did all this cool stuff that was very design oriented, kind of like Bill Sienkiewicz. You got the headshots, there was stuff inside of them, and I mean, and I just thought I'm going to experiment with techniques that I wouldn't get to otherwise. And so you really helped me to expand my palette and, grow my chops. And it was a really good time because it was early on in my career. So it was good. It was good.
When a lot of times when people talk to me about the stuff that was what I was drawing at the time, I said, I wasn't really sure what I was doing. All I know is that I wanted to do something different. So each experience, each editor I dealt with, each inker I dealt with, it was always showed something else. I'm like, oh, get this to look this way or go this way or whatever. The good thing is them allowing you to do that because, they can really crack down on people. Yeah. And in some cases, run people right out of the business,
Yep, that's true.
And I know there was a number of times, depending on things I did or my ability to stick with a deadline or whatever, there was many times when I probably should have been fired from the company, but I was always nice to people and they were always nice to me. So it's to work out in the end.
I had a compliment from it was DC editors over there. It's I can't remember the guy. He's one of the big shots, and he was offering me a miniseries when I was in San Diego, and it was because of the work that I was doing on your stuff.
All right.
Had you done any DC stuff before?
I did a few issues of a book called Dark Stars.
Okay.
Because they said like it was this group of these characters that were kind of offshoots of the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh, okay.
Or Green Lantern, one of those books.
Okay.
And I had fun doing it. It's just that at the time, just like how you were doing, I just wanted to expand more into more mainstream Marvel stuff. So I ended up kind of walking away from DC in order to to do that Marvel stuff.
Well,
here's an interesting story.
Okay.
Marvel many years ago put out this huge book called The History of Marvel Comics. So they covered all these various regular Marvel books, offshoot books, companies that they had in there, Epic and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. So I go in there and I go in the Epic section. They have pretty much everybody else's Alien Legion except my Alien Legion. So I got no credit for doing Alien Legion. I did Alien Legion for 7 straight years, yet I got no credit for doing Alien Legion.
Was it really that many years? Wow.
Yep, 7 years. So then I go over to the X Factor section, right? The X Factor that me and Peter David did is to this day the best. It was the best selling 6 issues ever in the history of X Factor.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
And they went from talking about Walt Simonson's X Factor right into Joe Quesada's X Factor. It was like my X Factor didn't even exist.
What?
Yep. But DC puts out a history of DC book, and they got me listed in there for doing Dark Stars.
That's funny. That's
Like,
really
that makes no sense to me.
I know. Well, they thought, just as a compliment to you and me, this editor, he's on the tip of my tongue. He's one of the big shots. But he said, you and Larry, he goes, you're making Larry Stroman look like a genius. And I said, Larry is great. He is a genius. I said, I said, we're just getting our feet under us, getting our legs. And he wanted to give me this miniseries, and it was something I didn't want, so I turned him down, and then he was mad.
Right.
Typical.
Right. Yep. That's how it is.
But yeah, it got noticed. I mean, they noticed the Alien Legion stuff. They thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, one of the advantages that I had, which I keep telling people, is because I was put on that Epic book, which, the Epic books weren't the biggest selling things at Marvel.
No.
But what happens if you've been around Marvel enough, you realize that it's the best opportunity you have is to work on those books that are not that popular, because you have freedom. You have freedom to experiment, freedom to do whatever you want for the most part.
Explore, yeah.
And then if you make the book popular, you get all the credit for it. That's what a lot of people realize. Yeah, people come in and all they want to do is draw Batman or Superman, the Avengers and stuff. I'm like, I said, if you really want to get popular in this business, draw something that people doesn't expect, and then make it good.
Yeah.
Because all of the guys who are the greats of the business, that's what they did.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, look at Frank Miller and Daredevil. That was probably one of the biggest examples, from the bottom to the top.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. We worked on, Chris Warner and I worked on Doctor Strange. That was the other book that I got right away. After we got Alien Legion, or I got it. He was already on Alien Legion, and I came to New York, and we came into the offices a bunch of times, and Carl goes, I got 2 books for you. You could do Doctor Strange, or you could do Strike Force Moratori. And I'm going, what the heck is that? Another one of his creations. It's like, there's no question we want to do Doctor Strange. And
But you know, it's funny. I'm the complete opposite. I would have took that strike moratorium in a second.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the challenge would be to take a book like that and turn it into something really popular.
Right. Well, see, we had the same challenge. The book was selling like 102,000, and books at the axe when they dropped below 100,000.
Right,
So they were betting on us, and we did. We raised it about 30,000. But you know, it took about a year and a half, and it was a bi-monthly book, and so then I had 2 bi-monthly books because so was Alien Legion.
Right. Yeah, those are those kind of books that if you do a good enough job on it, those are the people who are considered the greats in the business, are the ones who take something and turn it into something.
Well, it did get a lot of job offers.
Yep.
Even though it wasn't selling super big, people noticed our work, so that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, editors are impressed anytime you take something and get more people to pay attention to it than it was before.
Was that Alien Legion one of your first books, Randy, when you got into the business?
It was. I mean, that's how I got the famous how I got my job was, you know, typical story, right? Chris Warner was my friend from grade school, and he was penciling it. And he had just moved to New York, I don't know, a couple of years before. I was still living in Portland doing animation. And I said, man, I really would like to do comics. And he goes, well, why don't you be an inker? You know, even though you can pencil, he goes, you could ink my stuff. And so he sent me some pages, and I did samples. And in those days, you had to do them with vellum. And, you know, like, what is it, that liquid, you diluted that rubber cement. And really thin.
Man, that was rubber cement is one of the worst things that has ever happened to original comic art.
Oh my gosh! Well, you know, it's like you sent Xerox copies, and I put it over the Xeroxes, and then then you had to separate it with a rubber cement thing when you were done. One of those. Oh, it was just a big mess. But I inked about 3 pages, and I experimented with it. And what's his face? Carl Potts said, "Oh, I really like this." And I didn't know what was going to happen. And of course, it's always a freaking emergency. It's a fire alarm. And it's like the guys that were inking the book, I thought it was just one guy. It was 2. And I'll tell you who they were in a minute. Okay, hands up. That's it. I give up. Holy Kamoga. Oh my gosh. Hello.
I don't know who they're coming for. You, Larry, or Annika? I'm not sure.
It's me.
They're after her. She's the spy. She's like a intrigue international. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so they, you know, Carl Potts calls me and he goes, "We have 7 pages, Randy, and we're late, and we've got to make the deadline. You have 1 week to ink these 7 pages. I'd inked 3 pages in my life." And it's like, okay, I can do it. It's fine. Send them. And so they sent me when the box came from FedEx, and FedEx just started about 82. So this was 85. And here comes the box. 11 pages are in there. Freaking not 7, but 11. And I'm telling you, I worked all week, day and night. And literally I was erasing the last page. I'd stayed up all night. And the guy from FedEx came to the door, and my wife goes, "Would you like to come in for a cup of coffee? My husband he's not quite done cleaning up the pages to put in the box yet." And the guy was super nice, so he waited, but I never got to even make copies of them, you know. So it did it. And I got a letter from a handwritten letter from Carl. It says, "You're the new inker on the book." So I framed it. It's like on my wall. It's like first job in comics. You know, there it is.
But you know, I got on.
By the way, Scott Williams and William Portasio got fired because of the deadline. That's so funny.
Right. You know, when I first came to meet Carl, we talked for a little while. So he reaches in his drawer and he pulls out these 2 scripts, and he says, "I want you to make a decision on which one of these scripts you want to draw." And one of them was the standard script that they would give you. It was a short story with Scarlet Witch in Division.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Is that the
Yeah.
one inside in the airplane? There's like a.
I don't know. I don't know. I never got that story. So what I ended up doing was I picked the Amazing High Adventure. So when I said, "Oh, I'll do the High Adventure story," and he had this big smile on his face. What I didn't know was he liked the fact that my first interest was to do something that was non-superhero.
Yeah.
So he so I did the Amazing High Adventure story, and that turned out pretty good. And then he was saying to me, "Oh, well, he asked me if I wanted to do these couple of little short they were little short Alien Legion stories. They were only like
I inked one of them.
yeah, I think those are the first ones that I remember you inking. And then he says, and then later on, he was just doing something in his office one of the days I was in there. I said, "Oh, whatever happened to the regular guy who was working on Alien Legion?" I said, "You told me, you was trying to figure out what was going to happen." So then Carl turns to me, he says, "You want to take over the book?" I was like, "Sure, man." That was one of the happiest days of my life. Because I was like, wow, I have an actual Marvel comic. So doing that book for the 7 years that I did it, what I didn't realize is most of the people who read mainstream comics never even went past mainstream comics.
I know.
When I started doing mainstream books, they were like, "Hey, who is this new guy that's working at Marvel now?" I'm like, "New guy?" I'm like, "I've been here for 7 years." But to them, I was brand new. So when I finally got on X Factor, they thought I was just some guy who walked in the office one day and they just gave me a book.
I hear you.
But I always talk about how grateful I am to have had that experience of being able to work on a book for that long a period of time and make every kind of mistake that you could imagine, and be able to fix a lot of it before you actually, get recognized by most people.
Well, the thing about Alien Legion, I mean, it was Carl's book along with Alan Zelenitz, the writer. And so,
Right.
it was their baby. So you could, pretty much get approved to do whatever you wanted if he liked it. And the book was printed on super high quality paper. I mean, it was a slick package. It was really superior printing compared to all the.
Yeah, I remember a lot of the mainstream guys says, "Man, I wish I had the same kind of paper you have on that book."
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was a package. And it always looked good. The covers were always amazing. You're lucky you got to do a bunch of covers because they were using that one guy for cover art, the original artist, for a long time. But
he
wasn't.
Sirocco.
Yeah, Sirocco.
Yeah. No, but he was the one who was coloring the ones that I did.
Oh, is that right?
So he technically was still on the book.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
you know what? Now that we're talking, when I speak with people and they start talking about different time periods and stuff, and then I realize a lot of the regular guys who are reading mainstream comics, to them, the point at which Image came around is the golden age of comics. And we're talking about stuff that took place in the 80s. And I know. I don't even realize how long ago that was.
Man, that was when it was still the good old days,
Yeah.
I mean,
there was a time I was talking to this young girl at the time. She was probably barely 20 years old. So we were talking and stuff, and she had asked me, well, we had worked together, and she had asked me how old I was, and I told her how old I was at the time. I think I was close to 50 at the time. And she went, "Wow." She says, "You was alive when Martin Luther King was around." And I'm thinking, that doesn't seem like that was long ago. But to them, it might as well have been 100 years ago.
Well, I'm telling you, 1960s, I remember those as clearly as anything in my life. It was a super, super formative time. 60s were bomb. 70s were dead to me, but 60s were bomb. And then the 80s got good again for comics.
Right. Yep.
It was quite the. Yeah, I always liked working in Alien Legion, with you and with Chris. Chris went on to do, what was it, Moon Knight, and of course Doctor Strange with me. And then he kind of he got that Batman gig. He was supposed to do Batman, and they were.
But you know, it's weird because I my memory of Chris was that when he left Alien Legion, he went with a Dark Horse.
Yeah. Well, he did end
That's what
up.
it always seemed like to me.
I mean, that's where it all started. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we're both Portland, and he knew Mike Richardson, the owner, before you know. I got introduced to him. I got to help launch Dark Horse and do those first 4 issues of Dark Horse.
Right.
And then you and I did the math for Mike. I wish that had gone on.
Did you say we did what?
We did that thing called The Mask. No, it wasn't The Mask. It was, what was that character Mike did?
The
that black hood and
with the scarf. Yeah, the guy with the scarf.
Yeah, what was that guy? And that was going to be Mike's big deal, you know, and it didn't last. But it was kind of like future post-apocalyptic Nazi Germany type stuff.
Yeah, right. I think Chris did the first few issues or something like that.
I think he did work.
He did something on it at some point. No, Chris was the one who designed the characters. That's what it was. Yeah.
How can I not remember that? The something was the, you know, I don't know. Anyway.
What's it called? The Dark or the Mark? The Mark.
The Mark.
That's
The Mark. Thank you. That was it. It was a good story concept. It would have been kind of cool.
I liked it too.
But yeah, they tried to do their superhero thing, and everybody was trying to do superheroes, you know, launch their universe. And it's
funny because with so many of the independent companies, a lot of them act as if, you know, they do better stuff than Marvel because their stuff is not superhero. But man, they would give anything to have a popular superhero book.
Sure, they would. Yeah. You know, my reasons for getting on a mainstream book were a little different than yours. It was like I had a family, right? I got, you know, kids and a wife, and we just bought a house, and it was oh, I need to get some insurance. So it's if you didn't work on a mainstream book, then and you had to do it for 12 months, then you qualified for health insurance. And so that was one of my goals, is to get on a book and knock that out. Well, as it ended up, it was a book that I wasn't really thrilled about doing G.I. Joe, but it's the book that opened up. And when the first royalty check came, my wife goes, I think you're staying on this book, because it was selling me, you know, right up there with X-Men and Spider-Man. It was like a huge royalty check, and it was like, okay, it was on its way down, but it was like a good place to start, and you know, you could make the cash. So it was, you know, I did it, and you know, I kept it for a while. Larry Hama says, "You never leave a book. You wait till they fire you."
Right. I tell you, man, them royalty checks back then were great.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and that was before things got really crazy. I mean, you know, the G.I. Joe checks. I think the first one I got was because it was they had the space shuttle toy.
Thing is done.
They advertised it on TV, and the sales went up like a couple of 100,000. It was like the check was close to $3,000 or something. You know, it was like, whoa, we were blown away. Yeah, back in those days, you know, you're blown away.
I think the first, let me see, my first X Factor check was more than probably my first couple of years of Alien Legion. And that was just for one book.
That's amazing. That's.
Let's see, who got?
Has Randy drawn anything?
Randy's doing his own show in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be ready. I'll have both of these hands ready to go. I have to recover from the show this last weekend.
Yeah.
I haven't even unloaded all my crap. I mean, it's downstairs as a disaster area right now, so got to go clean up.
You know, it's like people don't realize how draining 2 or 3 days of those shows are.
Yeah, they are.
And when you're doing it, where you're going to back shows from 1 week to the next week, I mean that really can tear you down.
Yeah, it's true.
I was talking to Neil Adams one day, and I said, "How many shows do you do?" He says, "Oh, about 40 of them." I'm like, 40 shows, man. That is like crazy.
Man, that is. I mean, I knew a few guys that did 30, but 40 is insane. I mean, you got to be really hungry for the money and the attention. I think I averaged 12, maybe to 15 for several years, and now, you know, I mean, just before COVID, I think I'd cut back to 10, but you know, that's a lot.
I don't think I've ever done more. I don't think I've ever done more. Well, other than back in the day when I was younger, I don't think I ever did more than about 6 or 7, maybe.
Yeah.
Over the last bunch of years.
That's a comfortable number. I mean, I did 4 in a row. In 2019, I did September, October, November. I guess I did 4 in that 3-month period. It was consecutive weeks. It was 4 weeks in a row. And I said, I'll never do that again. Never going to do it.
Yep.
Like Minnesota, Phoenix, Portland, Seattle, or something. I don't know. It was crazy.
But then what's interesting about it is, first you say you're never going to do it again, and then after you've rested enough, then you say, I guess I'll do that again.
I'm trying not to do that.
Right.
I'm trying to be retired.
Right.
I played golf this last weekend along with doing that show. So I'm trying to work in the pleasure.
Right.
Larry, did you see that claim?
Did I what?
Did you see the claim?
Grendel Christine Spar?
Who? Who?
Grendel, who's that?
Grendel Christine Spar?
Really?
Oh, is it Christine Spar from Grendel?
Oh, is it?
Probably, yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't know that character.
I don't know that character either.
Christine, you said Spar?
Mm-hmm.
Matt. It's Matt, right? Matt, what's his voice?
Yeah. Oh,
He lives in Portland.
Matt
I'm
Wagner?
going to Portland soon.
He's a Portland guy.
Yeah.
I love Portland.
And I live in Portland.
Can you see
Oh,
that?
So is Portland a waste? Is it a wasteland now?
You know, it's not TV and everything else can make it seem like, oh, this has destroyed everything. It's like, no,
Right.
it's that one section of downtown.
Oh, I know who that is.
Hammered, you know. And it is bad. Nobody's happy about that. But
Right.
but it has subsided, you know, and it's not what it was. And every time something happens now, if there's an event, it's on the national news. It's like boom,
Right.
boom. So yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, you know, the thing is, where I grew up at when I was a kid in Boston, it was like it was the worst parts of what was going on in the 60s. So there was a lot of, in the neighborhood I lived in, there was a lot of riots and a lot of stuff being burnt. I mean, I used to see fires just all the time in the area. And then for about a period of time, I lived in some of the worst parts of Detroit.
Well,
So to me, seeing stuff like that is just, to me, not that much of a big deal. It's just almost kind of like, it's almost like kind of like a normal thing. Oh, there's a house on fire. Oh, okay.
oh my
You
god.
know, hopefully somebody called the fire department, you know?
Oh man. That's, you know, we're not used to that.
Yeah.
It just used to be a pretty peaceful place, you know. It's like all the hipster, you know, young people we used to run into them when we were on vacation, Judy and I, and they go, our dream. They're like like some kind of tech people in San Francisco. Our dream is to move to Portland. You know, it's like, no, don't. Please don't.
Right.
Please don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one point, Mike was trying to convince me to move there because he was talking about how nice and pleasant it was at the time.
And it was. Plus that you could have got something for cheap. Now the prices are insane. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Our house is worth a fortune now, and it's like, man, I guess I should sell my house. I don't know.
I remember when you first bought the house and you was telling me how cheap it was, and I was like, that sounds like a good deal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I built it. We built it. Not I didn't build it, but it was a custom build, and it was like right after the Spider-Man stuff hit. So we moved in '93. I've lived in this house now for what, 28 going into almost years, 29, almost going
Yep.
almost unbelievable. I've never lived anywhere that long in my
Yep.
life. Raised all my kids here.
And it's interesting how just a few events can change everything about your life, you know, depending on where you live.
It's true.
Mhm.
And if somebody was to ask you back in the day, if you thought something like that could ever happen in, you know, in the city or a state you live in, you're like, nah, man, that kind of stuff never happens around here.
No, I mean, I never thought I'd work for Marvel.
Right, right.
I was an animator too. You know, I did
Right.
TV commercials when I was doing.
Right.
But yeah, who would have thought, you know, you would get in on any of that stuff in the 90s? You know,
Yep,
you got to
yep.
do Tribe, right? Over at
Yep.
Image. I mean,
Yep.
that, you know, that was, I don't know how many issues you did, but I'm sure that one sold a lot.
Now, here's what the interesting thing was about the tribe thing is that book actually wasn't even supposed to happen. What happened was, well, I'll at one point tell you more of the details of it. But what happened was somebody, I don't know who it was, told the editors at Marvel that I was doing a book for Image. And remember, Marvel was having a lot of issues with Image at the time
Right.
because of all the people leaving and all that kind of stuff. So then I get this call basically saying, oh, well, you know, since you're doing this book for Image, you know, we don't need you anymore. So then I'm sitting there and I'm saying, wait a minute, I'm not even doing a book for Image. What are they talking about? So what ended up happening was I was kind of in a bad situation at the time. So I contacted Image. Then I ended up doing a book for Image.
You're kidding me. So it was all based on hearsay and rumor?
All hearsay, all complete hearsay. My book didn't even exist at that time.
Wow.
But as a result of being fired off of X Factor, I ended up doing my book through Image. But what ended up happening was
that Bob
that
Harris?
the first issue, that first issue outsold my first issue of X Factor.
Well, yeah. All that stuff was big.
Yeah.
Big.
And if you think of it in this term, if your book outsold X Factor, which I think at the time had sold like something like 900,000 copies, and then you think, not only did it outsell X Factor, but I got most of the money.
Right. That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
So I got that check was so big that I remember I had to go to a lawyer's office to sign in order to get the money. So I remember my bank was maybe about 10, 15 blocks from where I signed to get that check. I put that check in my pocket and I held it up against my body. And I ran down to the bank to deposit it into the bank because I thought I was going to blow out my pocket and that would be it, you know?
Man, I'm telling you, all those guys, you know, I mean, who was the guy that did Pitt? He did the whole,
Dave Keon.
Yeah, I mean, he did about 6-7 issues and he made so much money. He just quit doing it and he had a rock band, bought all his equipment and went on a world tour, and that was the end. We didn't see him anymore, you know.
Yep. That's what happens.
Oh man, I almost went. You know, I mean, because Eric and I were doing Spider-Man, and I thought about it, and he was, you know, Eric was wanting to ink his own stuff anyway. But I said, you know, I want to stay on a book that's got iconic history. And Amazing Spider-Man, let's face it, it was the right choice. It's still really strong. The movies are still coming out, and all the stuff that happened. If I'd gone over there, it would have been a one-hit wonder, and it would have been over. You know, it's like
right.
I was afraid of it.
Well, the thing is, like I said, I didn't have a choice. I wasn't on anything big at the time, so I just went ahead and did it. You know?
Yeah. I don't understand why they fired you though without evidence. That's crazy.
Well, the thing is, to this day, you know, I've never gotten an answer for what happened. But at the same time, I was kind of grateful that it did happen, because if it didn't happen, then I never would have done my book.
There you go. That's
you know, and how many people can say that their book outsold an X-Men book.
I know. That's great.
You know?
Well, that's awesome. So you think it was Bob Harris? Did he call you or somebody like that? And
Oh.
hire you?
Well, Bob Harris, when that stuff would happen, he wouldn't call anybody. He always had somebody else do it.
Oh, right. That's right. Somebody else did the dirty work. That's right.
Yeah, it was somebody else. But here's what predates that. The X Factor thing was I was working on a book. I was working on a book called Double Dragon, right?
Yeah.
And I was maybe 4 pages into the first issue, and I was having deadline problems and stuff. So the editor, who's that guy Fabian,
Yeah.
yeah, so he just fires me off the book, right?
Oh.
So I go in there to fill out for the 4 pages that I did, and I was upset that day. Now, I was remembering how at one point when I ran into Bob in the hallway, he asked me if I wanted to do like a couple of fill-in issues of X Factor. So after I left Fabian's office, I'm kind of walking through the hallway, and I said, oh, I'm going to go and let this Bob Harris dude know how upset I am at the fact that he never gave me the book that he promised me. So I'm just walking down the hallway, and I hear this voice says, hey, Larry. And I turn around, and it's Bob Harris, right?
Oh.
So I walk in the office, and I was like, yeah, I'm upset. I'm like, yeah. He says, would you be interested in taking over X Factor? And I was like, okay. My whole attitude changed. That's
crazy.
Then I was doing X Factor after that. So I always tell people about the same day I got fired off of a book, I got hired on one of the biggest books.
And then it's kind of hypocritical. Like Fabian became one of the big image writer guys. It's like he left Marvel and made his money over there too. So he was with Liefeld and all those guys. It's like all about the money.
Yep, all about money.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got your chance over there.
So whenever I have told that story, Fabian would follow up by acting as because of him. That's how I got on X Factor.
Oh, so he made it into a positive.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm like, all right.
I'm responsible for that.
Yep.
That's funny. Well, those guys, it's hey, you know what? Those days aren't coming again. So anytime. So we're happy that we were part of those days.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, I know for me, of course, we all miss that money that we made back in those days. But I'm glad I was able to get in on it before all of that whole, comic explosion thing kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Because now I'm part of the history of not only that time period, but before then and now,
Right.
If that never happened, I never would have, I probably wouldn't even have stayed in comics.
I know. It was a big deal. I mean, I was excited about what was happening in the 80s. And then when they went,
let me just say this first.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Fabian, we were at some show. No, what was it at? Who was at some show? And I walked up and I shook his hand and I thanked him for firing me off that book. I said, if you didn't fire me off to that book, I said I never would have done X Factor and I never would have done my own book.
Gosh, that's funny.
Well,
you never know where it's going to lead. That's the thing.
Yep.
And here's a story about Bob Harris. When I got the job on G.I. Joe, he was editing G.I. Joe. He had not gotten the X-book.
Right.
He was really working hard to try and get somewhere, as an editor. And Bobby Chase became my editor, and she was one of the nicest editors. And it was like, as soon as he got that, I got a phone call from Bob Harris, and he goes, "Randy, I have the power. I have the power." Got the X-Men books, and it was like, oh, we're in trouble now. It's like, whatever.
But he made that stuff popular. I mean, some of the people who he picked, some of the people that he picked on those teams and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. You know, of course, I wish it could have lasted a little bit longer. But
I actually was happy with the 80s.
yeah.
Real quick, I want to go through the live claims. People are asking again how exactly it works. So we put up live claim options here. And as soon as the option goes up, you can make a claim one at a time. So you have to watch and keep watching to get an option to get a claim. And the first person to claim is the person who gets the sketch. And remember, I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So although your comment may pop up right away on your screen, that does not mean it pops up right away on my screen. There is lag. But I do have a running tally of who's doing it at what time. So next time you see the video come up for Larry's sketch claim, if he does another one, that's when you'd be able to pop on and do that. And once you do claim it, I will then send you an invoice. So I'll need your email. And that's how we do the sketch claims.
Cool.
Now, Randy, you know, for people, you know, for the people who think that they know so much about comic history and stories and all that kind of stuff, it's only the guys like us who've dealt with these people that really know a lot of stories about stuff, especially like with the editors. And most of us never really tell stories about editors.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they think, you know, all of the decisions that everybody makes in comics is strictly because of the artist or the writer.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, no, without those editors, most of us wouldn't even be on certain things.
No, that's true. You got to have friends in high places.
Yeah.
And the editors are good. But if you're an inker like I was on a lot of books, you have to have a penciler friend usually because that's how you get that gig, you know. They rarely, you know, I mean, unless you're a super famous inker and they go, we're putting this guy on you no matter what, you know, it's like,
right.
But artists don't like that. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy, would you like to see the best Larry Stroman sketch in history?
Sure, why not? Da, 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 da. Okay. Hey, wait a minute. I know a guy that sketches like that. My son.
I tell you, I had a guy. That was before I understood, you know, the whole interaction on online and stuff. So this guy was angry because I had owed him some art. So he says, he does this post where he says, you know, normally I don't put somebody on blast. He said, but I'm going to put Larry Stroman on blast because he owes me this and owes me that, whatever. So he was saying all kinds of bad stuff about me. So I come on the post. I said, you know what, man? I said, you're right. I said, I'm sorry that I was late getting you the stuff. I said, hold on a second. I said, I'll send you the drawing right now. And I did a sketch of a stick figure holding a gun. So I sent it to this guy. Man, that guy was so angry. I don't think I cussed out as bad by anybody as I was by that guy that day. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that way.
Well, you know, I remember. I love Bill Sienkiewicz. You know, I mean, he's one of the reasons that I got excited about comics because he was doing all this great commercial art.
Right.
In stuff, you know, it wasn't just the same old comic book stuff. And I saw him doing sketches at San Diego, and you know, it's like he was doing them like blistering speeds. You know, it's like, bah, 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 and he's, you know, he would just like put down 3 lines and then go for it. And sometimes he'd use a tracing pad to flip it over and do another version. But they were pretty abstract. And one guy got it from him, you know, they were paying $75 a piece for him. And he goes, what is this? I got 3 pieces of spaghetti here. I paid $75. I got 3 pieces of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Well, hey, it's Bill. It's Bill. What do you want?
You know, you never know how people are going to react to things. I mean, I've had times where, you know, I was convinced that I did a really good job on something, and
nice ruler. Larry.
Yep. Oh,
Straight edge.
man, I've been using this ruler for years.
We can't afford them.
Yeah. You know, I've always been kind of rebellious against standard art things.
I know that.
So I just did a post not too long ago where I put a bunch of stuff on there, and I said all this stuff is proven to be completely useless to me as an artist. And I had that armature thing. I had a opaque projector.
Right.
I had a drafting board because I never use a drafting board. You know, drafting boards hurt my back, so I've just never.
Well, you're not supposed to work on them upside down.
I know. But for some odd reason, just that leaning over the drafting board just didn't work for me after a period of time. So I stopped using them. And then a lot of the art books, you know, like all those Vern Hogarth, How to Draw Hands and all that kind of stuff. All those books were completely useless to me.
Useless, yeah, they're pretty useless.
You know? They were nice looking. They had some nice looking art, but that's about it. You know?
Even that, you know, I tried using those to teach, and I taught for 13 years, and it's like it's good for knowing the names of muscle groups, but they're so overdone.
Right.
Nobody looks like that. You know, I would say go look at some sports books. You know, look at athletes like basketball players, and look at the way the muscles actually work on the body with skin on. You know, or even bodybuilders if you want to.
I remember buying all of the classic anatomy books and how to draw stuff, and people are always shocked when I tell them that I got pretty much nothing from that How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way book.
Oh,
other
really?
than the fact that it had beautiful art in it. Other than that, I didn't get anything from that book. There was maybe 2 pages. There was maybe 2 or 3 pages in that whole book that I thought was worth anything. The rest of it, just nothing.
Oh, well, it's funny because I do use that. I do use that one with kids.
I know a lot of guys that I know who are art teachers. Yeah, a lot of guys I know who are art teachers said, "No, Larry, you can't say that about that book."
It's
that book. I said that book was useless to me. You know.
Well, it wasn't progressive. It was pretty much old school. You know what I mean? It was kind of.
Matter of fact, and when I finally came across those Andrew Loomis books, it was almost the exact same stuff.
Yeah, in a lot of it was.
Now, what did work for me, and this is one of the suggestions that I got from John Buscema, was he talked about how you should make these sheets of, you know, images that you've cut out of magazines and stuff of like hands and feet and all that kind of stuff. I did that. Yeah, what I used to do is I used to go out on garbage day when I was living in New York, and I would just go up and down the blocks just picking up magazines and newspapers and all that kind of stuff. So I would cut, you know, pictures out, and I would make these little collage, 8.5 by 11 collages. And when I got enough of them together, usually, you know, thousands of pages of these things, I would drill holes in it, and I would put rings in it, and I would make my own little books, like anatomy books and stuff.
You know, that was the G.
Right. So I didn't use a lot of the same reference stuff that other people use. I had basically my own stuff, and then, you know, of course, I would freeze frame stuff on videos and television and stuff, and then I would draw from, you know, stuff like that.
I'll answer that question.
I think it was also a concern that I had of my stuff eventually looking like everybody else's stuff if I used the same source of reference. Yeah. So that's why I stayed away from it. Whatever was popular, I stayed away from it, you know?
Well, I have a question here. Do you prefer nibs or brushes? And it wasn't even a preference. It's like you have to learn to do both. But it's true. I learned from like Terry Austin when I was on, you know, Alien Legion. And then it was, you know, Scott Williams and I were both learning to do those things with the, you know, 102 crow quills.
Right. I love those.
So that was how I started. And then it was like I loved all these other brush inkers. So it's like until you've mastered the brush, you're missing the other half of inking. So
Yep,
really,
yep.
you need to use everything. And then I was
Yep.
in toothbrushes and flat brushes and anything I could get my hands on because I liked all the different styles, you know. And the deadlines were tough for inkers. They were tight because we were the, you know, it always rolls downhill, right? So it's like it gets worse for everyone. The writers screw up, and then the penciler gets it, and he's under pressure. And if he screws up, then the inker's under pressure, and the colorist maybe gets 2 days to color it. I mean, it's insane, you know. I mean, it gets bad. I you know, when I got on the Spider-Man book, or who was it? No, Larry. It was Danny Fingeroff had taken over. They'd fired the editor before that, and it was like Danny goes, "We're going to do a book in 2 weeks. We're doing books in 2 weeks. If you can't handle it, there's no job security." You know, and I said I can do it. I got a family and a house payment. It's like I can do it. I do it.
Right.
It was like a threat, but I got fast.
A lot of people they have no concept of the deadline thing when you're doing a mainstream book, especially if you're doing a monthly book. It is crazy.
I know.
It's like you never sleep, you never rest, you know, and then you have these situations where then just when you're saying, "Oh man, I'm just about finished with this," you know, I'll get a little chance to, you know, sleep for a few days and watch some TV. You get a call from an editor and it starts all over again on another book. And the thing is, you wanna say, "Nah, man, I can't do that." But then, you know, as soon as you do that, somebody else gets that book.
I know. The worst one I remember was actually when I was working with you, and I was doing Doctor Strange, and everybody was late, and I had to come up with unbelievable. I did 9 pages, and I think 5 of them were yours and 4 of them were Chris's because his were even more detailed. Maybe it was the other way. Maybe it was 6 years and 3 years. Anyway, and I was doing 2 books. It was every other month for those, but nevertheless, it all happened at once. I did 9 pages in 36 hours, and I didn't sleep. And then when I slept 16 hours, and I felt like my body was in a train wreck. It was horrible. So I said I'm never going to do that again. It was too much.
The worst one for me was there was a book I was working on, and to this day I've never told anybody what that book is. But I was working on a book, and I didn't feel like drawing it anymore. And then I got something else to work on that was a much better project than that. You know, sometimes you work on projects that don't necessarily have a deadline. It just, you know, it might be a book that's not going to come out for another couple of years or so.
Right.
So you're just taking
inventory.
You're just taking the time working on it.
Right.
So I got on something else big. The next thing I know, the chief editor at the time, who was Tom DeFalco, he passed a note on to the editor saying that if I didn't finish that book by such and such a date, that I would have to give all the money back that I made off the book so far.
Wow, I never heard that one.
And I was really upset at that. So what I ended up doing was, I think I stayed up for the next 2 or 3 days drawing those pages. And I think in that 3-day period, I think I did something like 24 pages or something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I use every shortcut, I did everything. Everything I could think of to do on that book, I did it. And it looks absolutely awful. That is one of the worst things I ever drew.
See, I mean, as an inker, I couldn't afford that. So it's like I killed myself to make stuff, you know, early on in your career. Everything's got to. Somebody's asked me a question here about working, you know, right behind.
Randy, this Craig Young, he's a current inker for Marvel.
I
He
thought
asked a lot of questions about that process.
Yeah, you know, and Chris Warner was my buddy, but he lived in New York, so we weren't living close to each other. And other people like Larry, they were in New York. So no, it was always, there was the time shipping the pages to me. And, you know, it's like I had to give myself quotas. I tried to ship twice a week. I try and do 7 or 8 pages a week, at least a page a day, maybe sometimes 2 pages a day. So I was trying to, you know, plus there's the incentive of, you know, Virginia Romita was doing all of those vouchers back then. So you always got paid every 2 weeks. It was awesome. So if you shipped pages every week. Then after 2 weeks, you got checks every week from Marvel. So it was awesome. I mean, you're getting checks in the mail every single week, and then you start getting your royalty, and you got, I mean, let's face it, then you got your pages back, so you could make money 3 different ways. And those were the good days. That's true. But yeah, I had a lot of stress. I'm glad that there was FedEx, so I could live in Oregon, because I didn't want to live in New York. I liked visiting, but I didn't want to live there. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting how at that time period, you know, you would have, you would have to mail you the story. I would draw the story.
Yeah, it was.
Then I would have to mail what I drew to the inker. And after that inker did his thing, he would send it back to them, and then they would send it to the colorist. Right. That was a long process.
It was, yeah.
And now I remember I did this cover a few years ago. It was some variant cover. So I drew that cover, and something like by the middle of the next week, they sent me the finished book.
Wow.
I'm like, how did you do it? But then I didn't realize that all the stuff was being done online. Everybody's doing stuff digitally.
Yeah. Yeah, it cuts out the time.
Yep.
Hey, it was a big deal. Like FedEx came in like 82, I think. And that made it for me to have a job with Marvel, because I wasn't moving to New York, you know. I mean, I was already married and stuff. So yeah, it was a good thing. And still, you had to be aware of the time frame. And they didn't want you to ship stuff overnight if you could help it, because it was so expensive. But they allowed it if they knew that, you know, it was.
Just to let you know, when we talk about ancient times, there was one time I was hanging up there at what was called Upstart Studios at the time. It was, you know, a lot of these artists, they would get together, be 3 or 4 of them that would have a loft space. So at the time, in this studio, there was I think it was Howard Chaykin, Walt Simonson, I think Jim Starlin, and some other guy. I never saw Jim Starlin up there, but normally when I would go up there, would be Walt Simonson or Howard Chaykin. So Howard was up there, and he's rushing, trying to get whatever it is done, because he had to get it out that day.
It's probably American.
So I said, hey, I'll help out. So he started handing me these pages, and I'm filling in blacks and doing some line work and a few things like that. So we ended up rushing down to Port Authority, and because he had to get the pages to the letterer. He put those pages on a bus, for the bus to go to whatever city that the letterer was in to letter it. And I'm thinking, oh man, that was a long process back then. And like you said, that was before the whole FedEx thing and everything, you know, where we were just mailing stuff through regular postal services. And that just ended up being a process that they used to keep, to keep things moving smoother. And like I said, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but that was a long time.
It was. I mean, I go 90s. That was, and then I go 30 years. I was like, what the heck? It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I've been working. Actually, I was in 2009.
So when I came back here, I'm in the Boston area again. When I came to the Boston area, I had gotten in contact with a few, my sisters and stuff. So they were still friends with people that I grew up with when I was in grade school.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking to this one girl who was one of the first students that I was in grade school with. So we were like talking. She says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing all right." And I said, "Do you realize we haven't seen each other in 50 years?" I was like, I never thought the day would come that I would know somebody for that long.
Wow. I know. Well, hey, Chris Warner and I, we went to first grade together, and I'm 65. I'm 65. So, and I still see Chris. I go into the Dark Horse offices. I was doing it every year because we did our comic book art camps for 13 years. And they were the sponsors, our first sponsors. Dark Horse would give us free comics, posters, buttons, bags. It was like a Comic-Con for all the kids that took the camp. But I always saw Chris several times a year, and we have him out, for dinner and stuff. But, I haven't seen him most of this year. But still, how many years is that?
Yep.
That's like, a million years. 59 years that I've known him. Oh, my gosh.
I go up to people sometimes at conventions that I haven't seen in since like back in the 80s or 90s. And I always go up and I introduce myself like they don't know who I am or something. I'm like, hey, Larry Stroman. They're like, I know who you are. They said, man, I ain't seen you in a long time. I'm like, yep.
I know. The 90s was a long time ago.
Yep.
I mean, I was really done by 2009. Like Marvel kind of crapped on me. I brought them Ivan Rice, the guy, because I worked at Dark Horse. We did Ghost for like 3 years, and I picked him. Whoever that guy was, it was that guy that was creepy. That, was kind of their agent. All of those Brazilian artists.
Yeah.
He never paid them. He didn't give them their artwork back, and it was just nightmare. But I could see Ivan was amazing, and I tried to get Marvel to sign him, and we did some Quicksilver and we did, some other stuff, and it was like they just never got the message. So he went over to DC and became a superstar. I was it's those companies are just you go wow. Marvel was always.
I remember telling somebody. I remember telling somebody at Image about. I was trying to introduce this guy named Richard Bennett, who later on did a lot of good, really cool ink stuff for different people.
Yeah, I know.
And his stuff was just beautiful stuff. And I remember I brought him over there, and they were like, "Yeah, he's not really interested, not really interested." And I said, "Man, you all got to pay attention to this. This dude is great." So then I didn't think about it, and then many years later, I'm picking up books from Image, and I'm seeing this Richard Bennett guy's name in there. I'm like, "Oh, so you did like the guy's stuff, You just for whatever reason didn't want to tell me that you liked the guy's stuff."
Yeah, that's probably right. It's crazy. Crazy thing. I'm glad that I had Dark Horse because when Marvel collapsed, I had those ties, and I got that. They called me up and they go, "You want to do a monthly book?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Not getting any more work." So, but I was going to say Marvel dumped on me about 2009. It was like I was working on an Avengers thing with Ivan or Yvonne, and it was great. It was a 2-parter. Had Kang and all of this great stuff. It's like I'm going to do my best work over this guy because I respect him. And they go, "Well, this book's 2 weeks late, Randy, and we know you can do it. You can pull it out." And I was working on a graphic novel for Dark Horse, which I had a contract for and deadlines. And I said, "Look, I'm doing this. I'll do the best I can, but it's like I'm not going to do a crappy job." And sure enough, they pulled the last 5 pages on me and had somebody hack it out in the office over Yvonne. And I just thought, I'm done. I'm done with Marvel. They're just idiots. It's like, why? Why would they do that? So, I mean, it's fun.
And it's kind of sad is that here's this company that you grew up on. You always had like ultimate respect for the stuff and the characters and all that kind of stuff. But then a lot of times you got to deal with working with people that in the end don't turn out to be so good for you.
Oh, they don't get it. I mean, they get one thing, and it's the money aspect of make the deadline, get the books out. And if you read that book by Sean Lowe or Sean Howe, the Marvel Comics, The Untold Story, he actually contacted me because he was going to do a book on Frank Miller. And we were in an APA together, APA 5. But
where's Ken at? Is he still on? Is he still around?
I'm here, buddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You haven't said anything. That's I thought maybe you want to
letting the conversation. I'm letting the conversation flow.
But
okay.
It's like
all right. This one is.
You haven't read that? Read it. You should read that book. Everybody should read that book.
Marvel.
I think I read some. I think I read some excerpts of that.
You should read it. It's a good read.
And I think I had downloaded it, but I got so much downloads it just got mixed up amongst.
It's a fun book. It's a fun book to read. You'll learn a lot about what there even.
You want to do another one, Larry?
Yeah.
Hey, well, you know what? I've got to go clean up my mess in the garage, and I probably should take off. But I'll be back a week from this Thursday. Is that what it is?
Right, that's right.
All right, man, Randy. I'll see you next time.
And we still have some open spots still on your commission list if anybody
Okay.
wants to.
That sounds great. I mean, I'll be doing Spider-Man Universe headshots, and we're looking forward to it. And it was fun getting a chance. Actually, it's a good chance people get to see me, right? When I do it. They won't see me when I'm drawing, so this is probably okay. All right, thanks for inviting me on. And Larry, you take care, and I'll see you down the road somewhere.
All right.
Thanks, Randy. We appreciate it, buddy.
Okay. And Ken, when we get off, remind me of something I want to make fun of you about.
Okay.
How do I get out of this? Do I just click leave the studio?
Yeah, I can kick you out.
Okay. Hey guys, save those questions for next time. All right.
Okay. All right. That was fun. Well, it looks like our claim is for Loki or Hela.
Okay.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I like the guys like that who've been around as long as I have, and we could just talk about, pretty much anything.
Yeah. Yeah, we were getting a lot of good responses from the chats too. Everyone likes to look behind the curtain a little bit,
Yep.
And it was fun to have a creative team. That was interesting. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, me and him go way back.
When's the last time you saw him? It's been a while, right?
Who, Randy?
Yeah.
That was a few years ago at a show in Texas, I think it was. The thing is, we don't when we go to the shows, we don't get to talk very often. We speak for a little while, and that's pretty much it. So even something like this is really rare because we, like I said, we don't get to spend much time speaking with each other.
Yeah, exactly. You get to have a conversation with them for probably close to half an hour there.
Right.
So who you picking? Loki or Hela?
Loki. I'm just trying to pull up some reference on him.
Yeah, Randy's a great guy. Always has good conversation. He'll just text me randomly a picture of himself sitting by the pool, say, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, nothing."
Right.
Yeah, he was telling me he had a real big weekend at the comic book store where the show he was at this weekend. So it sounds like we're getting back to normal, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to a show that's actually a big show.
Yeah. Well, MegaCon, coming down to MegaCon. That's a show in pre-COVID times that would have over 100,000 people attend.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger shows in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big one. And who knows? I mean, I could see it being half of that because of COVID, and I could see it being twice of that because of COVID. Who knows how it's going to go.
Most people have no concept of how many people that is until you're actually standing there.
Yeah, I've been going to MegaCon for years, and it's a huge, big show. I mean, I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, so I can't speak to that. But it's a huge show floor, a gigantic artist alley. They bring in, the Marvel sets up booths and DC sets up booths, and sometimes the line to get in is wrapped, miles long.
Well, this is just to give you an idea of how big the San Diego thing is. I walked into that show on the floor just as people were putting up their displays, and to walk from one end of that show to the other took 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just in basically one building.
I got a question for you from a comment. He says, you mentioned earlier that people come up to you at cons who aren't familiar with your work. Do you prefer getting requests from people who are already fans or newer fans?
Oh, both. Both, of course. I'm not picky, but you just like, you like when people discover you, because I've had times where I've been at shows and people will say, oh, the only reason why all those people came up to your shows is because they know who you are. And I said, no, actually, a good portion of them have no idea who I am.
Mm-hmm. I got an idea for that. I'll run by you when we stop broadcasting. I'm going to tell you about.
Right.
After he makes fun of you.
He must have saw something in the background. My wife must have been poking around the corners. I'm sitting over here opening art. I got this piece. I'm going to show this off. I just got this from another collector. Mike Perkin, Electro.
That's nice.
Yeah, man.
It's really nice. Gosh.
I like Mike Perkins. He's a really good artist. He lives around here too, Central Florida. He lives near Tampa.
Oh,
He goes to local card shops and stuff around here a lot. Well, he did prior to COVID.
that's awesome.
But like I said, hopefully we're going to start opening up more.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, James. I apologize for the lag issues. Now that we're on Facebook or on YouTube, it appears YouTube's a little faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might, because I'm watching it on both. Just to prep for the next time I am a participant and not helping you out. But yeah, Facebook's a little slower.
Yeah, it looks like we have almost an equal amount of people watching on each platform.
Everyone's leaving Facebook to go to YouTube.
Yeah, we're all excited. The cons will start up again. That'll be fun. But I don't think this is going away. I think these live streams are now a fixture within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's there'll probably be more during the week now. Because when the cons start up, obviously the weekends will be are taken up by that. But I still, and then of course when the con season's over, obviously this is a great revenue stream for artists and things like that to keep the ball rolling. Yeah, John lives in Daytona. Yep. So does Alex Sabiuk. He lives down there too. They both live in Daytona Beach. There's a lot of artists that live in the Central Florida area. I think Amanda Connor lives over down near Clearwater or Sarasota. So there's a lot of them around here.
I thought a couple times of moving down that way.
Mike Zeck used to live in my neighborhood.
Right.
Before I moved here, though. I didn't.
I understand people moving to Florida. I never understood why people move away from Florida.
I don't know that many people do. When I was up in New Jersey back in November, helping clean out my father-in-law's house because we moved him down here, and we had to rent a U-Haul. And he lives in Central Jersey near the Jersey Shore, and I had to drive up to Wayne, which is like almost 2 hours away, to get a U-Haul trailer. And then when I drove down here to back to Orlando, and I dropped it off at the UPS facility, there were literally 25 trailers there. And I said to the guy, "Well, here's where they all are." And he said, "Yeah, because everyone's moving here, not going there. So you need somebody to take these trailers back because they need trailers up there."
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, it's really booming down here. It's really something else to see. Is that you again, Annika? You live in a racetrack or something?
Oh, I live in downtown, so
a lot of city noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of city noise.
So when San Diego Comic-Con happens, how far are you from the venue?
Not I could walk to it, but it does take maybe like 25 minutes to walk.
Right.
So I mean, not super far.
When I first went down to I think it's one of the first times I went down to San Diego. I mean, other than the show, I was doing signed issues of X Factor for this company that Jim Lee had. They were doing all these signed books. So when I got down there, I think the first night or so, I ended up staying at Jim Lee's house, right? So I remember waking up in the middle of the night. Now I was living in Brooklyn at the time. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, hearing myself breathing because it was so quiet. I could barely get back to sleep because I was so used to hearing fire engines and police cars and people chasing each other throughout the night that I just that quiet was just too much for me, you know.
Larry, someone wants to know, was the last time you were at a con in the Northwest?
What is the Northwest?
Emerald City, maybe? Like Seattle area.
Let me see. I was at Emerald City. I think it might have been 2016, 17, something like that.
Oh, not too long ago, then.
Yeah, I like that show. I wanted to go back to that show, but throughout the year, other shows pop up.
Yeah. Have you just started getting any invites from anybody? Shows popping up?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah. Well, the gentleman who's helping me out, picking up art from Larry, he's an artist up there. He's a school teacher, but he does art and he does a lot of the cons. So he's going to be hopefully getting Larry out there a little more in the northeast up there. Back in
I haven't been a show up this way since probably the 1990s.
Oh wow!
Yeah, yes, that would be good. Did you go to San Diego Comic-Con a lot?
Me, no. I went there in 2018, and previous to that, I think it was 1994. The last time I went.
Oh, why?
Oh wow!
You're a member though, right?
Now I am.
Yeah.
I got one of those lifetime membership things.
There you go. Guess where we're going next year? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the thing is, they say, with the membership thing, I can bring members of my family. So we have to figure out some way of making us look like we're kind of like related.
Listen, we had different brothers.
Yep.
I told a story last week about a friend of mine used to be a coach for the Jets, and he invited me up to training camp. And when I got there, my pass was under a defensive player's name named Darrell Rivas, and it was a family pass. So during practice, I'm hanging out in the family area, watching it and everything, and these people are looking at me, and I realize that they're his family, and they're probably looking at my pass saying, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Right.
So when Pepper came off to the field and him and I were talking, he was like, "Why did they give you a Darrell?" I said, "I don't know." So then Darrell came over and I was like, "What's up?" And I think I knew him, and he looked at me like, "What?" And then Pepper started laughing, and he's like, "No, they messed up." And so we took a picture together. I was family, so I might as well take a picture with him.
Yep.
Funny though. I've never been.
I think nowadays, if I was to say that somebody's a family member, I don't think anybody would want to argue the point.
No, not now.
Yeah. Nowadays, people got to be so careful with what they say about anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Although I had a run-in Saturday with a security guard, and then I had a run-in Sunday with a security guard.
What?
Wow.
Sunday, I thought I was going to get thrown out. My wife actually told me she can't bail me out this time. But,
What was you smoking in the bathroom or something?
no, it was a parking issue. They told me to park around back.
Yeah.
I go around back, and the guy stops me and says, where's your credential? And I said, I don't have my credential yet because Bill's, has my credential. And he was like, okay, well, too bad. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to get my credential if you won't let me in the building?
Right.
And so eventually I got my credential. And then the next day, I dropped Bill off in the back, and then I go around to the same parking lot, and I get stopped by a different security guard. And he says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to park my car. He said, no, you're not. I said, well, I showed him my all access VIP badge that says guest on it. And he goes, I don't care what that says. I said, what? I said, I parked here yesterday. He goes, that was yesterday. Today you're not parking here.
Wow.
So,
Oh my gosh.
He was just giving you a hard time.
Words flew out of my mouth. And then I went and found his supervisor and became a Karen of sorts. And
Yep.
Ended up parking.
Hey, when the last time I went to New York Comic Con, I was supposed to be on one of those panels, but I didn't have a pass. The guy who had me be on the panel, he was going to come out and give me a pass. It was going to be like a 3-day pass. So I'm waiting out in the lobby for this guy to come and get me, and I'm sending him all kinds of phone messages and stuff, and I'm not getting anything back from him. I stood in that lobby for 3 hours before I could get into that show.
Oh.
But the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, all the years of drawing comics, and I can't even get into a comic convention. So I think he had a bad connection or something, and eventually he came out and saw me. I was just about to leave.
Mark, I was gonna say this to Larry. Larry, you can tell him I'm your husband.
All right. You know what? I don't even think anybody would want to say anything if that was the case.
They just hand us our pens and go in.
I just they're like, okay.
There you go. Bill Morrison was actually telling me a story yesterday where he was a moderator for a Simpsons panel. And he said the whole cast was there.
Right.
Oh, wow.
They're walking in. He said there must have been 30 or 40 people, and they stopped him because he didn't have a wristband.
Right.
And, he said, "Well, I'm Bill Morrison. I'm one of the, I'm the art director for the show." And they were like, "We don't care." They had to get a producer from the show to get him in to moderate his own panel.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the thing is, the security of those shows is some complete other entity. So that they could care less who you are,
Yeah. Well, that's what was happening yesterday. It was the security for the building wasn't allowing me in, but the people who work for the show were like, why not? And then they had to get his supervisor involved, and I thought he was coming to throw me out because, like I said, I was cussing pretty. My Joyzy came out.
Right.
And but no, I calmed down.
Yeah, these days you have to be quiet about that. Be careful about that kind of stuff because people's always filming something.
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you'll have some video where they'll say, "Guy comes into a show, refuses to wear his mask, and he cusses out the security." They'll just make up something about you.
Yeah. Right. As long as the content's not revealed. Yep. Yeah, so that was interesting. But that was really the only bad experience. Everything else was great. The crowd was great. People were really it was funny, Saturday, everybody who came to the table wanted Futurama. They were just gaga over Futurama. So I was talking to Jeff Saturday night, and I told him, I said, well, clearly, the Simpsons, even though the show's still on the air, that fall was over because everyone wanted Futurama stuff. Then Sunday came, and everybody was Futurama. I was like, what the hell? I mean, Simpsons. I was like, what the hell is going on? The Simpsons crowd only comes on Sunday. The Futurama crowd comes on Saturday. It was a hard line. Like nobody wanted to talk about Futurama yesterday. Nobody. And the day before, nobody talked about Simpsons. It was the strangest thing.
Well, even though I've been around and dealt with fans over the years, I don't really understand the fan thing. I don't understand why people like certain things more than other things.
Yeah.
When I was last at San Diego, I think it was like some anniversary for, I think, Dragon Ball Z or something like that. And it seemed like half the people at that show were there because of Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, what is the deal with Dragon Ball Z?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was probably when it had the popularity in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Pokemon's still popular.
Oh my gosh. I thought it disappeared, but all my students still love Pokemon. And I was like, oh, that's still a thing? Like, that was
Right.
popular when I was in elementary school.
Yep.
How old is your elementary, right?
Mm-hmm. They are obsessed. And then Pokemon cards are so expensive right now. It's hilarious. It's crazy. Crazy.
I had a friend, and she used to get upset because all her son was interested in was his Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to throw them away. And I said, don't throw those things away. And she says, why not? I said, because that's part of his childhood. And I said, you never know what's going to happen with those cards.
Mm-hmm.
What up?
I used to have a T-shirt that said I was a millionaire until my mother threw out my comic books.
Yep. Yeah.
It was true. Well, I didn't really have any valuable my first comic book I used to read, I've told the story on the show before. My dad used to know a guy who owned a 5 and Dime in New Jersey, and back in the 70s, I don't know if when they started doing it or when they stopped doing it, they would tear off the covers and send it back to the publisher to get partial credit for the book to sell.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I always bring me home coverless copies of comic books, and it was always the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, and Spider-Man, and I had hundreds of coverless copies of these books.
I used to love those.
Yeah.
I used to get them for 10 cents. I used to get them for 10 cents a piece.
The coverless one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And where they mostly sold them is in tobacco stores. You walk in, and over in the corner would be a stack of 10-cent comic books.
There's clubs out there that collect coverless comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a coverless. The first appearance on number 5, the first appearance of Ghost Rider. I had a coverless copy with a recreated cover.
I guess somebody.
Your audio.
Can you all hear me?
Now we can. Yeah.
You're there?
Yep. Can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You there, buddy?
Hello?
Yep. We got you. Oh, he's going to paint on the screen. That would suck. Oh, yeah. I remember rolling the books up. Oh, yeah.
You still there?
Yep. We're here.
It's like you all can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call that was coming in. It cut in on my audio.
You want to go and come back in real quick, Larry? I'll text him. Obviously you can't hear me.
You can still hear me, right? Wave.
I'm going to kick him out. There you go. I'm going to remove him from the screen. Kick him.
He's gone.
Kicked him. Oh, look at you. Became the prominent star of the show.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. We'll see if Larry comes back on. If he doesn't come back on, I was going to let this be the last sketch anyway. I got dinner waiting for me, guys. Yeah, what's on the art wall?
Ooh,
I'm going to put you up.
I have a Larry Stroman, just
Yeah.
because. And then my 2 Jay Lees. Thor, obviously, and Catwoman, because I really like Jay Lee's cats. So yeah. But yeah,
I guess I showed this before. I just got this. I got a half an hour ago in the mail. Mike Perkins. I got it from another collector.
That's awesome. Gosh.
And I came home with some Bill Morrison art that I'm going to be throwing up on the 4C site. Not all of it. I'm probably going to keep one or two of them, but there's a
I
comic.
mean, these are pretty awesome.
It's on a comic backing board. He said, "I don't like it. I'm going to redo it." I said, "Okay," and I took it. And then this one I might keep.
But that's cool.
I'm back.
You're back.
And it seems like every time somebody calls me, it cuts into my. Anyway, I'm done with this.
Ooh.
All right. Well, we're going to kill
So
it
this-
here, buddy.
Yeah, this is going to be my last one for the night.
Yeah, we're done. So really it was a great show. That was a lot of fun with you and Randy.
And thank everybody for
Yeah.
sticking around and listening. You know.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And we'll be back this Thursday with Brent Peoples. And we're going to have Larry on again. This is an impromptu kind of show, but Larry's definitely, he's a 4C staple. Larry was my first guy. So Larry's a founding father of 4C. So he's always got a spot here for us. But thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks.